Well, greetings. Welcome to this overview video of the initial land use scenarios for the Jamestown Mall market analysis and feasibility study. My name is Stephen Eibendahl with the I5 group. I'm the project manager for the study. With me is Bob Lewis with the St. Louis University Community Planning Lab. Bob will be leading the market analysis portion of this work. And the reason for this video, short video, is to give you a brief overview of the initial land use scenarios that we'll be using for more in-depth study as we move through the overall process. If you've found this video, you more than likely have already looked at the plan website, ImagineJamestownMall.com website, but the website is available if you have questions about and want to learn more about the overall process in terms of learning more about the market analysis and feasibility study. You have a chance to learn about and meet the planning team and advisory committee. We have a great 20-person plus advisory committee made up of residents, institutions, neighborhood organizations, and other groups in the study area. You can also find out the overall schedule and then information about upcoming community meetings. Just to give you a little bit of context in terms of the site, I'm sure most of you are already familiar with the Jamestown Mall site, but this map shows an aerial view of the study area outlined in red there on your screen. It's about a 140-acre site. Zooming out a little bit, the area, again, more of a regional view, you see the Jamestown Mall site there in yellow, small yellow dot in the middle of your screen. And the area you see around it, the darker brown, is a 30-minute drive time around the site. So it shows the Jamestown Mall site in this regional context that its location is as close to downtown St. Louis, Clayton, as it is to St. Charles and other locations in Illinois. The diagram on this page shows really the overall process for the market analysis and feasibility study that we'll be starting with initial 6 land use scenarios, doing really some initial analysis and community feedback, narrowing down then 2 to 3 land use scenarios, final analysis, community feedback, and then a final land use recommendation. So in many ways, we are just beginning the process of our work and an initial analysis. And so as we move forward, we really will be doing 2 concurrent aspects of work. One, on the left there, you see initial analysis and the bullet points in terms of some of the things we'll be looking at as part of the initial analysis. And then concurrently, right, getting community feedback. That we'll be doing a series of small group meetings, expected to do 8 to 12 small group meetings with about 10 to 15 attendees per meeting to have some really robust, thorough group discussion. And then 1 of 2 public forums. The first public forum in late June of this year. This is being recorded on April 18th, so we don't have a date and location set for that first public forum. If you're watching this a little bit later this spring, please visit the website to find out details about the location and time for that first public forum. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob. He's going to kind of walk through some initial background data that we've pulled together to help really kind of set the stage and for the creation of those initial 6 scenarios that we'll be using for the in-depth analysis as we move forward.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's just first define North County for the purposes of this statistical presentation. It's basically everything north of 270. Draw that 270 line, across to the Missouri River. So think in terms of that. That's not always the same definition to everybody of North County. North County, though, between the 2 census periods here, lost about 2,000 people in a population, net population change. Meanwhile, the rest of St. Louis County grew a little bit by 0.8%. Next slide. That kind of shows that, again, that same yellow dot where Jamestown Mall is, and a map that shows density, population per acre. And you can see using the legend there that basically Jamestown's in an area that's kind of stable in terms of population. A 2,000 loss given a lot of demographic changes is not horrible by any means. The county itself didn't grow very much, so it's not too bad in terms of population changes. It would be nice if it was growing, but right now it's in a pretty stable area of the metropolitan area. So now we'll compare all of St. Louis County to St. Charles County, which is a rapidly growing county. The county as a whole grew 0.5% in the last between the last two censuses, but St. Charles County grew over 12%, adding some 45 or so thousand net new residents. A big jump. In fact, the only county in the region that really grew of any substantial amount. That's a little bit of our competition with North County. Now this compares, again, St. Louis County at the bottom, in the middle is St. Charles County, and the rest of the metropolitan area, 13 other counties in the bi-state area. Again, the county, St. Louis County stayed pretty stable. St. Charles County grew a lot. The rest of the region actually lost a little bit of population. St. Charles County and St. Louis County were really the only counties that grew. So here's population density again. That's showing, where it's at. It's pretty stable in terms of population changes going on. And good thing, bad thing. It'd be nice to be some more growth going on, but a lot of that growth, as we're going to see further in this slideshow, is going to be difficult to achieve. So now we'll move a little bigger geography. The metropolitan area of St. Louis, between the two censuses, again, grew 1.1% over 10 years. The United States as a whole grew a little more than 7%. Keep in mind, though, that in the United States, that number was the slowest decade we've had since 1790 in rate of growth. Other than the Great Depression, St. Louis is a lot worse than that. This is the decade by decade numbers since 1940. The early numbers, St. Louis metro area, all 15 counties were growing at about the same pace as the United States. That slowed down in the 60s, so bad that in the 70s we actually lost population. We started to grow back, and those three taller bars, that are shorter but taller than the rest of them on the right, were about 1/3 to 1/4 of the rate the United States grew as a whole. And as we just saw, the last decade of census information, we grew at only about 1/7 the rate of the United States. St. Louis is struggling as a region to add population. As a result, we are now the 21st largest metropolitan area in the United States. Keep in mind, there's over 380 metropolitan areas defined in the United States, so 21st isn't bad, but 40 years ago, we were 15th, 16th. We're growing a little bit every decade, but we're not growing as fast as a lot of our competitors, our peer metropolitan areas, as you can see. So we're slipping down the rankings a little bit, and this is to show what the Census Bureau most recently projected in terms of rates of growth in the United States as a whole for the next 40 years. You see 60 years actually, but you see it, and the rates are going down on a 5-year basis. That means we're going to still be growing as a nation, but we're not going anywhere near as quickly as we've become accustomed to over the last couple of 100 years. So we're going to see a lot more competition, if you will, among metropolitan areas and states to acquire net population growth, if that is indeed a goal. And as I say, that will be a particularly challenging for like flyover states, the Midwest, in many ways. How do we get more of that smaller pie? Now here, let's shift a little bit to the economy. These are job centers in the metropolitan area. That's what we're looking at here. St. Louis City is right in the middle of it. And you can see Jamestown Mall at the top. Most of the job concentrations that we have in the in the St. Louis area are downtown, midtown, out to the medical centers, and then kind of moving west and then northwesterly to Creve Coeur, Maryland Heights, and then shifting a little bit to into the industrial areas in Hazelwood and out into St. Charles County. Jamestown Mall, frankly, is not on the beaten path in an economic development perspective. It might have been a great place for a mall. A lot of demographics changed that, but right now it's not the place. It's not a top of mind place for adding more jobs. Could it be? Well, let's talk. So these are the 4 zip codes that make up that North County, north of 270 area. It's not precise. All of them have lost jobs since 2002. Not all of them. 3 of them have lost jobs since 2002, which is to 2019, which is the length of time of this particular database that we're using at the zip code level. The only one that grew over that period of time is the purple one, the Spanish Lake zip code to the farthest east. And that's primarily attributable to the National Personnel Records Center that was built there. About 600 people are supposed to be employed there. So we had some growth, but generally speaking, over the last almost 2 decades, slight declines in not only population, but also in jobs that are located in North County. So here are the strengths of, what are the jobs in the county? It doesn't matter who works there. They could be living anywhere in the region. But what are the jobs in the county, North County area as well? The strongest number of jobs is in healthcare, as you can see, retail, education for schools and the like, and lodging and dining, kinds of retail-oriented sort of things. These are where most jobs are filled within North County itself. Next. So then comparing those kinds of jobs, the percentage of those jobs by sector to the same sector's percentages of jobs in the metropolitan area as a whole, we see that North County has some strengths. That is strengths to the right of that red line. If the ratio is greater than 1, retail trade is strong in North County. The information sector, again, think National Personnel Records. Real estate, there's a lot of transactions going on. Education, again, healthcare, and lodging and dining. Those are strengths. The other ones are less strong in terms relative to the metropolitan area's distribution of jobs. Next. And here's the county as a whole compared to the metropolitan area. The county as a whole is a very well balanced job distribution by sector. So most of these sectors huddle around that 1 ratio. So a challenge here, or opportunity maybe, is how can North County begin to maybe use Jamestown Mall to better diversify its local economy, to better match what's going on in St. Louis County. All in all, St. Louis County is doing quite well based on a graphic like this. Next. So these are North County residents, not where the jobs are located in North County, but where, in what sectors of the economy do North County residents work in? Those who are employed, of course. Most recent data. And most of the highest number, 1/5 of the employed North County residents work in the healthcare industry. That could be in North County, but it could also be at the medical centers in Midtown and West St. Louis, or even in South County for that matter. Retail trade is a strong sector for the people and have jobs in North County. Lodging and dining, a strong sector. Even manufacturing, relatively speaking, you can see that as well. These are the kinds of industries where North County residents are employed. Now this work compares, similar to the other one, resident workers compared to the metropolitan area. What sectors do metropolitan area residents work in compared to the residents in North County? Here it's a bit more balanced. So you can get a picture of the people who live in North County and work somewhere are a pretty diverse lot. Now they may be working in many places around the metropolitan area, but all in all, the numbers huddle right around that ratio of 1. This is an emphasis on jobs in transportation, warehousing, logistics sectors, and in administration and waste management, which is a big deal. And again, healthcare, strengths for the area, but not horribly so. There's not an over-reliance on that by the people who live and work and have the skills and occupations in these sectors. Now, these are destinations that are given to top 10 in each zip code that we talked about earlier, the 4 zip codes in North County. Where are the people working? And it turns out that the largest single number, other than all other locations, is the city of St. Louis. People are commuting into the city from North County to go out there, but they're also working in Maryland Heights, Forest, and Freeport, fairly close by places. easy to get to with a highway network and so forth. But we're also going kind of everywhere. That's why we don't get a data beyond the top 10 and a zip code that adds up to 12 when you put the four together. But all other locations we've got, as the next slide shows, almost half of the people who are living in North County and have jobs, they're commuting to places that aren't on that top list as well. So the city of St. Louis does well in attracting the commuters, but basically we're going all over the region to take jobs when we live in North County. Next. So we're going to switch to a big thing now. We're going to talk about the projections of the United States jobs done every 2 years by the United States Department of Labor. They project out by sector and some other factors as well. I'm going to limit it just to the economic sectors. These are the job sectors in the United States that are growing faster or will be growing faster by 2030 than the overall job growth in the United States. The overall job growth will be 7.7% over that 30-year period, 10-year period from 2020 to 2030. Fastest growing will be the arts, entertainment, recreation sector. It's not that big a sector, but it's going to have some rapid growth. We're going to see a lot of growth, obviously, in social assistance, mining, even as we become energy self-sufficient and so forth. But these are the sectors that are going to grow faster than the United States as a whole on the job counts. Next slide shows all the sectors that are going to grow slower than the United States as a whole. 3 of those sectors are actually going to be negative based on the projections by the Department of Labor. Most of them are going to be positive. They're just not going to be as robust. And a key one here to look at is the retail sector, because that's strong in North County. So this slide shows what are those sectors that are strong in North County that we saw earlier compared to where the United States is projected to go. Retail trade is strong, but it's going to have negative growth. We're going to see a lot of technology into retail, fewer jobs, more technology. We're already seeing that when you do self-checkouts. Real estate's going to grow, just not as robustly, but there are some a number of sectors that are where the jobs are now in North County that we could build on and make a stronger economic development, even the Jamestown Mall, if we want to go that direction. And this is projections by the state of Missouri Economic Development Department. They do it every 2 years as well after the United States does its numbers, and there's a year's lag. So right now our projections are only here to 2028, but the yellow bars here signify those within the St. Louis metropolitan area, Missouri side only, as determined by the state of Missouri. The yellow bars show those sectors in North County that are strong, and projections within the metropolitan, the west side, Metro West, where they're as strong as well. So these are the growing sectors in Metro West in the next 10 years-ish. And some of them relate also to North County, which is a positive thing. A lot of conversations we've had, though, have said we could use more manufacturing jobs in, say, at North County, maybe in the Jamestown Mall is an option. Unfortunately, projections of manufacturing jobs in the United States are going down. And this graphic, as pointed out on the left, and the graph points out what the state of Missouri is saying about manufacturing jobs in the Metro West area. Only one of those subsectors of manufacturing is projected to grow, not by very much. That said, we're going to see a lot of manufacturing output increase pretty rapidly at 19%. That means more technology, more machinery, automation, high value stuff is going to happen in manufacturing, but not necessarily a job creation sector as well. All of this, plus a lot of other information, keeping it brief today, suggests some strong trends that we want to keep an eye on and expect from some citizen input as well. Population growth, as we said, is slowing down. And St. Louis has not been a growing place. That will also challenge housing production. If there's not much population growth, will we need as much housing development? There's a yes, no there, we'll talk about later. Retail demand will stagnate because if we're not having a lot more people growing, unless we have a lot more income growth as well, buying power. So Jamestown Mall at the same time offers a lot of land potentially for on a new housing, attracting populations maybe into St. Louis County and to North County. It's not a top of mind place for economic development. As we pointed out earlier, it's on the fringes of where jobs are now, but it's a big site. And to economic developers, they kind of drool when they see a 142 acre site that just might be available for something that having to do with economic development. And there are many, as we pointed out, many job growth sectors that are kind of favored already in North County. And as we move into talking about the initial scenarios ideas, we spent a lot of time talking with economic development stakeholders, leaders in this region about that, including the Missouri Partnership, which basically sells Missouri to the rest of the world for economic growth. The Greater St. Louis Inc., which is a combination of organizations here in the metro area doing the same thing. Ameren has a big interest in economic development, quite a few skills, and also relates to some energy options we're talking about for Jamestown Mall. North County Inc., again, thinking down smaller, a couple of developers, Gundaker and Chapman, and then within the county itself, dealing with the Economic Development Partnership and the Department of Planning, talking about ideas that might be realistic for Jamestown Mall. Stephen?
So as we get ready to raw the 6 scenarios, just want to kind of provide a little bit of context in terms of the format for these initial 6. Again, at this point, they'll be very concise and brief overviews of each of the 6. And as we move further along in the process, we'll be adding details to these. So as you come to the public forum in June this summer, it will have a lot more details for each of these scenarios to view. So at this point, they're just very brief. So each of these will have just a short description of each scenario. We'll have some positive, we call positive market position in terms of potential strengths of each scenario that potentially makes these commercially viable. We'll also have a consideration. What are some maybe potential weaknesses or negative aspects of each scenario, and then what are some questions and further research that we've already identified that we need to do further research on, or some key questions that we need to answer as we move further into this process. So I'll turn it back over to Bob to kind of walk you through the 6 initial land use scenarios.
And so these are simplified, fall out of what we just talked about, and aren't recommendations, but they are ways it could go in terms of scenarios. The ultimate, whatever planning gets done, will probably be a combination of these, maybe some new ideas as well. And we encourage you strongly to go back and look at all of this too, as we all think about what final decisions could be made. And one of them could be a housing development, what we're tentatively calling Jamestown Acres Estates. Could be a large subdivision or set of subdivisions of middle income housing, primarily some senior housing, probably enough retail to support that in a village kind of setting, maybe attract some shoppers to a village kind of a location that will bring some extra money in as well. There could be market for that. Problem is we have, again, sluggish population growth, which if we build a lot of new housing might mean that a lot of people who live in North County move into the new housing and leave behind the older, less functional, higher maintenance properties that, do they become a problem? Can we refill them or not? Big challenge, I think. So opportunity for a mix of uses, including retail, but also senior housing, perhaps, particularly with the aging of the baby boomers and what's going on in North County. Scenario B could be just a corporate campus. It's a lot of property. We have corporate campuses here in the region. Think Bayer, Monsanto, or Ameren, or Emerson and Ferguson. They have a lot of property. It's big companies. These are Fortune 500s and Fortune 1000 companies. And so if we had an opportunity or two like those that show up, they are few and far between, but nevertheless can happen. A relatively recent example is Express Scripts. They're north of UMSL. They needed a big property. They're a Fortune 500 company, where they were. They're all part of something else now, but they need campuses. If we had that kind of opportunity here, there might be something worth considering. But then it would also have some spin-off economic impacts from that, ripple effects. It could be what we're calling a commerce hub for maybe high-tech manufacturing. Not too many jobs necessarily, but they'd be high-quality jobs or a data center, same thing. A lot of that would require a lot of electrical power. Both of them would, a lot of energy, but could be a good location for that, given the nature of the technology and manufacturing and even data storage and data usage. United States needs more of that, as we all know, with what we're doing with the internet and those relationships as well. So there's a lot of demand for that. Scenario D could be a logistics center. This is what more or less was proposed a couple of years ago, was turned down because there was a lack of support at the time, but the market is still pretty good for that. I think the bigger challenge, though, is that, and by the way, we're in the middle of the United States with great highway and rail and river networks, so it makes a lot of sense. Some huge challenge, however, would come from Metro East, where land is less expensive and conditions are probably a bit more favorable. And are we, a big question to ask in the longer run is, are we saturated on this kind of a land use that's really not that valuable for North County? Scenario E could be a critical technologies research park, working with a consortium of universities, or maybe UMSL itself, since it doesn't have a research park. It may be how do we start taking some academic research, even corporate research, and moving that into commercial development with enough building space and land space to be able to do that. Cortex is filling up, although it's doing some of that. 39 North there in Creve Coeur and Olivet has also got that opportunity, taking a lot of high-tech research that we're doing and turning that into some commercialization. Is that an opportunity for Jamestown? Might be. And finally, scenario F, a lot of conversations around maybe it becomes a place for farming, both indoor and outdoor. And indoor meaning we'd have like greenhouses and hydroponics, where we could be growing high value products, food products for the region, maybe for the Midwest, in very controlled situations and 24/7, year round as well. So growing demand from the center of the United States. We'd compete with Mexico and California and Chile for high value products, but that's a great place to be able to do that sort of thing. Not many jobs, but they will be high quality and be kind of a clean research as well. We probably also, or instead, combine this, could be an energy field, wind farm, solar farm, or do we work both wind and or solar into all the other uses as well, including with farming as well. So those are the 6 key scenarios. There were a couple that we put on the honorable mention, but we're probably not going to move forward with it. Basically, returning it to a regional shopping center. There really isn't enough market for that by any means. And regional malls and regional centers are really not the thing anymore. It's more village and experiential oriented, which I think we can build on with the housing component. Or it becomes a recreation center, a place for concerts, etc. Sports and recreation. So that good spot, a lot of people around. The challenge there, however, is that we have a lot of those things going on, and many of them need to be reinforced. For example, the Mills Mall, former Mills Mall up in Northwest County, probably needs to be given an opportunity to succeed. We also have the proposal for a North County Recreation Center nearby. So it's probably better to allow those to move on rather than try to do that at Jamestown Mall. So we put both of these in the honorable mention category. Stephen?
Thanks, Bob. Just wanted to end with, again, showing the this approach slide that, again, in many ways, we are at the beginning of our work, that these 6 initial scenarios that Bob talked through are really just a starting point for our initial analysis. So again, there on the left, we'll be kind of, really kind of running these 6 scenarios through these different factors, through these different analysis and evaluations, and seeing how they stack up on things like job creation or return on public investment, aesthetics, different factors of analysis. Also doing more research in terms of verifying how much they are commercially viable, and also getting input from the community in terms of reactions to these scenarios, and especially as we develop more information, in making sure the public understands, the community understands, again, the potential benefits and the potential considerations of each of the scenarios moving forward. So again, we're really at the beginning stages of this. You look for the website for updates on upcoming community meetings. We'll have the first public forum late spring, early summer, an additional second public forum probably late summer, early fall. So again, visit the website for updates as we move through the process. Thank you for watching this overview video of the initial 6 land use scenarios. Again, please visit the AdvantageInJamestownMall.com website to stay up to date about the process.